Welcome to Work the Left Side. I'm hyper hyped to announce tonight's guest. These two guys are in their prime. They are my slam heroes. They never fail to kick out, and they are just general all-stars. I am joined by Kris Dekker and Tommy Freeman, aka the TrailBlazers. Gentlemen, how are you?
All good, all good. I think we're scared we're going to talk over each other because I could see that for a second there, Tommy.
It's like a little.
Yeah, we're getting there. All good though. Banging. Yeah, just getting on with things. How about you, Tommy? You can talk now.
Yeah, I'm great. Just got a good workout on that in today, so I'm feeling refreshed and pumped up. Got a couple of big all-star shows this weekend that we're really excited about in Hull and Liverpool over the weekend. So they'll be big time shows, especially in Liverpool one. It's right in the city centre of Liverpool, so we're really excited for that one. So yeah, trying to get the work in before we go to be as best as we can before the big all-star show.
Are you guys working that together, or is that going to be individual stuff, or are you guys working it as a team?
I think we're against.
I haven't heard any word about what I'm doing yet.
I think we're against each other.
Well, never mind.
So, I mean, I've got the inside scoops, but I think we're against each other in Liverpool. I've no idea about Hull, but Liverpool, I think we've got a match against each other, and we've probably worked each other, I don't know, 1,000 times now. Like, so yeah, we're pretty on the money with that.
Good friends, better enemies sometimes in some places, you know. Because I don't think, other than a select few, I don't think I've ever been in the ring with anybody else more than Kris, whether it's on his team or against him. We can't seem to get away from each other, which is probably a good thing for a tag team.
That's it. Why fight the inevitable? Just join forces.
Yeah, just the magnetic pull of the TrailBlazers.
Ride my coattails, like.
I'm going to jump in there before this escalates. You mentioned all stars there. You mentioned you've worked each other so many times, it's countless. Yeah. That's the thing I find. Obviously, I reeled off. I was trying to be a little bit smart with the intro there, but I was obviously dropping in like kick out, all stars, slam heroes, those kind of places. You guys sort of work those, and I've spoken to so many people that kind of deem like the holiday camp scene or those kind of shows as being just wrestling boot camp 101. That's where people just master the trades, learn the fundamentals, take it up a notch, improve character work. You guys just can work an audience better than people who, I don't want to besmirch people, but everyone says it's key if you get a chance to work those kind of places, because it's just, the experience is priceless.
I think it's exactly that. Go on, Tommy. I'll let you speak.
I was just going to say, it's been, at the risk of sounding like somewhat dramatic, being able to work the holiday camps has been completely life changing to me. Not just as a wrestler, but as a person. It's taken over everything, and it's just amazing being able to be around the guys that we're on with, because the kick out team in particular has a really it's a really well put together team, because you've got your few guys at the top, your Joel Redmonds, your Mickey Limericks, that's these top guys who have got all the experience in the world and can just do anything at the drop of the hat, put on the best match on the card if they want to. And then you've got guys like myself and Kris who are sort of not new, but still at a stage where there's a lot of growth for us to do, and being able to be exposed to these guys is outstanding. Just being not even necessarily having the chance to be in matches with them, but still doing that as well. But even just watching them is just I can't speak highly enough of the two guys I just mentioned before, Joel Redmond and Mickey Limerick. For my money, the best two wrestlers in the country, and just being able to watch them is a good enough learning experience. Never mind, being lucky enough to have stepped in the ring with the both of them. It's quite a learning experience. But you literally are learning from the best in the country, and it's every day it's relentless. Go, and it's what everybody sort of wants to do. You live in the life of a professional wrestler, and that's the dream at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, it's exactly that.
Leave time for Kris there.
I think I think am I like coming across? Am I freezing up? I don't know. If the one thing I always take away from it is like holiday camps and things like that might get XYZ name from people, and people have their perceptions of it, but you've got to think like the style that we wrestle in, we're wrestling in front of kids quite predominantly, and kids in theory are quite easy to wrestle in front of. But what makes it difficult is the kids are there with their parents, and we do these shows, and I see the parents in the front row or the back row, and they're sitting there like, you know, this is whatever, I can't be bothered, whatever it is, and you need to make those people believe. So like we have the hardest job probably of anybody, because making those people believe when they don't want to is really hard, and that's why our stuff is laid in. It's as real as it gets. Like, I don't care what anybody else is doing on the show. I know that my stuff is going to look legit, and it's going to be legit. And I walk out of there really hurt sometimes because it's the nature of what we do. But then, you know, we pack up and we do the same thing the next day. We do the same thing the next day, or maybe we do the same thing the same night. I've had shows where I've done like 3 or 4 matches in one night, and you've just got to put up with it. But there's people so many levels above us, and it's just a case of keep going with what we're doing anyway.
Well, that's it. I mean, you sort of said there about the audience. I mean, your guys have gone, obviously, yeah, majority of the kids are there because they love the wrestling, but like I said, the adults are, you're performing or you're working in front of a majority of people who aren't wrestling fans, who aren't actually there because, you know, they want to see what you guys are doing. So yeah, that's the challenge. You pull them in. And you know, by the end of it, if you can sort of see them, they've moved forward a little bit, or they've shuffled forward a little bit more. They're paying attention. You know, you guys have done your job.
Yeah, and like I've been to those indie shows where, you know, everyone cheers from the first moment. They're doing what they're meant to be doing, and that's really cool. Like that's a really cool thing. It's amazing when you go to these shows that are really well run, and like the first arm drag, everyone's going wild for it. That's really cool. But ours is a little bit different because as much as we know how to get the reactions out of people, it's like we have to sort of condition people to understand what's going on, and it's levels and levels, and then eventually you want to walk away. And the main thing is like the kids will have a great time, but it's when the parents come up to you afterwards and they're like, Jesus Christ, you beat the shit out of each other today. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So I can't talk. That's when you've done your job.
That's what I found as well.
Like
obviously,
proofs in the
oh, sorry to go.
Sorry, I was just going to say the proofs in the pudding as well, with like how regarded work in the summer camps is around the entire wrestling world, not just within England and the UK itself, but like outside of it. You can't like talk about Butlins recently without mentioning that clip that was sort of resurfaced a few months ago of Daniel Bryan, or Brian Danielson, whatever you want to call, of him really like bigging up how important the summer camps are in the UK, and like how he just loved just going in and just grinding all the time. And I know he credits sort of working in the UK a lot for the style that he ended up wrestling and stuff like that, and the stuff that brought him to the big time shows at WWE and AEW. And I think, like I said, the proof's in the pudding. You know, it's iron sharpening iron out there when you're doing the summer camps, because you have no choice. It's like it's sink or swim. You're either a wrestler or you're just not cut out to do it. And like, as brutal as it sounds, it's amazing. It's like an amazing experience to be a part of, you know.
Yeah, and some people don't make it. Some people absolutely don't. We've seen people start on these shows and they have a few days or a few weeks or even months, and it's like they're not made for it. And that happens as well. And it sucks for them, but it's just the way it is.
That's it. But yeah, you've got to try it to find it out. That's the thing. I mean, I was going to sort of say as well, another thing that is kind of obvious, and again, it's not a besmirch on anyone, but the guys that are on the holiday camp shows, like for the most part, you guys are jacked. You guys have to look the part because you're going on a poster. You know, you're trying to get the eyes of somebody who's not even a wrestling fan. They need to look at that poster and just even visually see you guys and be like, oh shit, they're huge, they're wrestlers.
That's a big part of the job. And like, I'm going to say something that might be at risk of becoming a clip here. There's I don't want to talk shit about people, but like part of the job is being in shape, and like not everyone needs to be enormous. There's different body types work for different people, and that's totally fine. But I think like if you look at the past 25 years and the drop off in wrestling in popularity, that is like it's kind of resurfaced in recent years. The Netflix deal's been amazing, it's doing really well. But if you look at the past 20 years or so, like people look back in the they know that wrestlers are The Rock, they're Stone Cold Steve Austin, they're The Undertaker, they're, you know, all these are not. Stone Cold Steve Austin is an enormous man. He's absolutely huge. And he was one of the small ones. Like, they expect giants. And like, I've had so many times when people say to me, like, you know, oh, what do you do? And I say, like, I'm a wrestler. And they think that's cool. But like, I sometimes wonder, you know, maybe somebody who doesn't look so much like a wrestler, is it that believable? You've seen people walk out the curtain and it's not as real. And it you know, it doesn't mean to say that those guys aren't great at what they do, because there's plenty of guys that maybe aren't in amazing shape who are really, really good in the ring. But I think if you want the full package, you need to be able to talk, you need to be able to work, you need to have the look. And I don't know, maybe that is part of it, is because of the holiday camp and the ethos behind that. But I just think in general, you need to have some sort of shape. And I think the proof's in the pudding again with looking at WWE in places like that. Like, the people that are on TV, they look huge. In some other companies that you might have seen in recent years, sometimes they put people on TV who maybe don't look as impressive, and I think that kind of shows. But yeah, I think ultimately physique is a massive thing and people really overlook it.
Especially again with the summer camps, just going back to what Kris was saying before about, obviously the kids who are going to the shows more than likely are going to enjoy what they see because they're there because they love wrestling, you know. But when it comes to selling these shows and the entertainment as a whole to the parents, the people who don't really believe it, they're just going because the kids went, oh, I want to go and see the wrestling today. It's just another part of like sort of selling that, you know. Like Kris said, we'll have to really lay our stuff in, really put in as much effort as we can, but the first impression is just, it can make or break you. You know, the second you step out of that curtain, if dad with his 5-year-old son in the front row goes, oh, like, that's the last thing that you want. So that's why being some kind of shape, you know, like I'm trying to be in better shape. I'm constantly trying to be in better shape because I was a bit of a skinny fat kid. So, so you know, I've been working against that all my life. But and it's like what you said, you don't need to be like, we don't need everybody to be like an Adonis or something like that. There's room in wrestling for everything, you know. You can have your big beefed up jacked guys, and you've got guys like, one of the biggest stars of the 70s, 80s was Dusty Rhodes. And nobody's, you know, he's not winning any Mr. Olympia anytime soon, you know, but he's just so magnetic in his personality. And he still, even though he was a, you know, huskier, heavier set bloke, he still looked like something, if that makes sense. Like, he still looks like some kind of athlete. Whereas there's others who, you know, like I said, they just don't really look, they look too normal in a way. So as long as you have some aspect of yourself that might turn ahead, I think that's probably the best way to put it when it comes to how you look as a wrestler.
Yeah, it is.
I was going to say, I'll put it down to, right, when the kids get the photos after the show, you know, you could show that photo to just a random person. If a kid's stood next to you two having the photos done, it's like, you can just visually look at it and be like, oh, he's had his photo taken with a wrestler, just without even being told. It's kind of obvious. But yeah, you know, depending on how the person looks, it could just be like, oh, he's had his photo taken with his cousin or something. It's like, it doesn't look like they've been to a wrestling show.
Yeah, there is a bit of that. And like,
why is that person really sweaty?
Yes.
Why is that person in the picture of them just really sweaty?
It's not a take away from the ability of some people. No. There's some people who are like really not in shape, whether it's really skinny or really big, who do like unreal stuff. I've been to training schools where like somebody's come along that looks tiny, and I just think, oh, whatever, like, it's a normal person. And then they do like the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'm just like, okay, that's insane. It's unbelievably impressive. But as you say, like, the look test is such a big thing, and I think that's played such a major part in the drop off in wrestling over recent years in England, because we had less people who looked like athletes. Now, I'm not going to get scientific with this because I don't know the answers, but I think there was less of an athletic look for a little while. I think it's returned a little bit. You see a lot of guys in the UK now who look brilliant, and they're really pushing hard, and there's a lot of like online coaches who are pushing that. And it's doing really things because, I mean, the proof's in the pudding again. The people who are getting called up for WWE tryouts and working in America, they tend to be people that are in shape, and there's a reason for that.
I mean, obviously my local promotion is like, you know, True Grit. Just to rewind as well, obviously, yeah, I've kind of pointed out the body thing more for obviously being beneficial in the holiday camps, as I sort of say, because it's such a visual aspect kind of thing. It just helps, you know. But yeah, obviously, like you sort of said, you know, everybody's got to start somewhere. I swear, it takes all sorts. And at some point, if your goal is to do this professionally or on a, you know, if you want to ditch your 9-to-5 job, then yeah, it's not just what you can do in the ring. It's everything. It's that mindset. It's the discipline, you know, the body shape, everything like that. But yeah, like I said, a lot of people, you look across the board, guys that are at the top of promotions, like Riley Novas, Brady Phillips, HT Drakes, Freddy's, Rampagers, these are all big boys.
Yeah, they're all in great shape as well. And like we've worked shows with all of those people, or even wrestled against a lot of them, if not all of them. And they're all in amazing shape. Like, Shreddy's like just a block. He's just an absolute animal. I've chopped Shreddy before as hard as I could, looked into his eyes and didn't see a single flinch. And I'm just like, why am I here?
Shreddy hits the nail on the head every time as well. He's very right in the whole, it's not a gimmick, it's a lifestyle kind of thing, because he calls himself a Jack Stack Daddy, and he absolutely fucking lives up to it, like, because he's humongous, and like,
and every time we see him,
it seems like every time I see him on a show, he's different in some ways. Either on like this massive bulk and he looks like a behemoth, or he's like cutting down for a bodybuilding show and he looks fucking insanely shredded. Makes no sense. It makes us feel bad about myself every time I see him.
Brilliant.
But yeah, like I say, it's just that kind of thing. But not everybody, you don't get there from day one. You have to work at it, kind of thing. That's years down the line, kind of thing. Along the journey, it will happen. But like I say, you guys have just kind of, I think, like say, working the camps, it gives you time to do that. It gives you the discipline as well, because what you guys do, like say, you're doing stuff multiple times, day in, day out, and you've got to have that mindset. You've got to have that discipline to be able to do it, and that's transferable, across the board.
I reckon so. I reckon, for context, myself and Tommy were definitely not always in shape. So when we first started training wrestling, I think it was a little bit just before COVID that we started getting into wrestling training, and neither of us were in shape. I was really fat, and Tommy was skinny fat. And it took us the COVID time and getting into running to lose all that weight and then to build all the muscle afterwards. Massive amount of it's down to Mickey Limerick, because he trained the both of us, and he is a body guy, and he is one of the best body guys there is in the world, probably. He looks like Sid Vicious. A lot of people say that, but he does. He looks like Sid Vicious.
Without the term.
Insane. Yeah, British Sid. Or Goldberg, yeah. But he's just, his sort of ethos ran into us, and then it got to the point where I think it's the same for you, Tommy, is I just got obsessed. I was like, if I don't do this 1,000,000%, terrible. If I don't do this 1,000%, I'm not going to do it. It's not going to work. I need all of those aspects. I don't want to get really good at wrestling and be out of shape. I don't want to be in shape and be really bad at wrestling. I need to do all of it. And I became autistically obsessed with every little aspect of it. But it turned out to be a good thing for me. Maybe not the best way to put it, but I'm allowed to, because I'm allowed to on the spectrum. But just totally obsessed and just engrossed. And I think maybe that doesn't necessarily happen for everybody that does well, but it definitely needs to happen for me. And I think the same thing happened for Tommy. I could be speaking out my arse. You could have not even tried. I don't even know.
No, it did change my perspective on things a lot, because like you said, when we first started, I wasn't in any particular shape. I was just sort of like a half-filled bin bag with some toothpicks put in it, but we all start somewhere. But then once I started training with Mickey and I saw how intensely he put it, and his his mantra runs through my head all the time, which is fuck motivation, just hate yourself instead. And that works for me, because I found, I'll more than happy to admit, if it wasn't for the fact that I am a professional wrestler, I would not be a gym guy at all. I hate going to the gym. I do. The effort alone just to go fills us with dread. But I do it because I love this thing so much more than I hate this other thing. And if I was going to sit around and wait for motivation to kick in every single time I wanted to go to the gym, I'd probably go 2 or 3 times a year. So it's you've just got to find that other thing that makes you actually want to, pick yourself up and actually try, and for a long time I didn't know if I had that gear. And then the second I stepped foot inside of a ring, I was just like, oh, this is the thing that I do now, and I am giving it everything I've got, because it's I've tried lots of sports when I was a kid, and I was always competitive and stuff, and casting a wide net, and I always enjoyed myself for a time, but it always sort of ran its course naturally. But then, from the second I took a bump, I was just like, oh, here we go. And it's just been sort of non-stop, blazing a trail, if you will, ever since then.
Oh, awful.
Had to get it in.
Talk about being jacked and stuff. I mentioned it before I hit record. I'm going to bring it up quickly now because it kind of fits into what we were sort of saying. Shout out to Mr. Ryan Palmer. I said it before, but I was speaking to Mr. Tom Campbell, the most jacked referee in British wrestling at the moment. I would say, if anybody wants to question me on that, then feel free. But yeah, Mr. Ryan Palmer, the guy big enough to make people feel inadequate about their arms. I hear.
It's unnecessary. There is no need to wear a short sleeve shirt when you're a referee, when you've got arms that big. Like, what are you trying to do? That's like, I've wrestled shows where I've been in matches where the referee's 6'7", and that's the same kind of thing. I'm just like, come on, at least be 5'3" and don't have arms. But if you've got arms, put on a long sleeve shirt. It's honestly, it's disrespectful. So I'm calling that Ryan.
There we go. Next
this
time
is
you see
me
it.
challenging him to a fight. Apparently, that's what's happening.
Yes,
he's good to have around though. It's good. It's good to have a little bit of size to keep things in order. He's got to be a man of authority, doesn't he? So,
mate, he looks like if you choke me, I'd die.
Exactly, and that's why you don't cheat in the matches that he referees. You're scared of him. I know you are.
You don't cheat in the matches that Ryan referees.
Turn up to a show. Turn up to a show like, who's the ref? Ryan. So I'm working face tonight. Yeah. Cool. There we go.
He's a good lad. He doesn't have eyes in the back of his head. That's the main thing. That's what I like about him the most.
We mentioned it there. Obviously, I've kind of sort of said there's that one generic question. We've kind of touched upon, you guys getting into wrestling at kind of the start of the journey. But I'll ask, the generic question now. What was it, that kind of made you take those first steps? What made you kind of decide, actually, you know what, I want to do this. I want to do this every day. I want to take them bumps. I want to get dropped on my head. Was it a lifelong fan thing, or I've had people tell me they did it as a dare and they just loved it. So I've had a few different answers.
I mean, for me, I know that Tommy's answer is different to mine, but like, I loved it as a kid. I was obsessed with it as a kid, and then just stopped watching for years. And it was only when I was older and like, I didn't watch it for years and years. And then I was just hanging out with some friends, like when I was in uni, and we didn't have any internet. And we had like DVDs, all these old DVDs on spindles. When you used to get dodgy DVDs back in the day?
Yeah.
And I had these wrestling ones, and we just stuck them on. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, actually. I used to love wrestling. So I started watching it because I had nothing else to watch. And then I went to a local show. I went to an MEW show, and I remember Primate was on the show. Everybody else was terrible. And I knew that at the time. And I'm saying that in the nicest possible way. But it was nobody that we know was on the show. They were all just awful. But Primate was really, really cool because he was like Goldberg, but like 4 foot tall. It was unreal. And he just killed everybody. And I was like, maybe I could do that. And then I get this thing where, like, if I like something, I become obsessed with doing it. I can't just like if I get into gardening one day, I'm probably going to be obsessed with doing the Chelsea Flower Show. That's just the way I am. So just overnight, I was like, yeah, I want to do this. And then I started going to the gym, and then I was at the gym for a year or two, and then just went to a local wrestling school and just tried it. And I was like, this is actually really cool, but I'm goddamn awful at it. So then I had to really stick in it. But yeah, that's kind of my story behind that. I know that Tommy's is very different.
Similar-ish beginnings, like I started watching when I was, I want to say about 8 or 9 in school. Like, I got introduced to it by a friend, and then I really started watching it. What was it? Because me auntie, shout out to my auntie, she used to have Sky, and around my birthday, because my birthday's in February, so around my birthday there would always be like a Royal Rumble or something. So one of our gifts to us would be that she would record it on a VHS for us. And she'd pay for the pay-per-view, record on VHS. And me present would be that I'd had the pay-per-view on a VHS, so that was cracking. And she did it for us for WrestleMania 22. Was the first WrestleMania I ever like properly watched. And from that moment on, I was just obsessed. The particular moment was probably when I saw Edge spear Mick Foley through that flaming table. I was just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Ever. Like, this is just the best thing I've ever seen. And from that point on, it was just wrestling. I played in the playgrounds, trying to wrestle my mates, and got told off several times for it. And even to the point where when most kids started like really gravitating away from it, because especially like in my school, there was a big, because there was quite a few of us who enjoyed wrestling in my school, and there was this big shift where the kids stopped watching WWE and started moving over to the UFC. That was just sort of not like when that was sort of becoming quite big. But I just like I watched the UFC and I am like a fan of it myself, but I just never really properly wavered. Like I might have watched wrestling a bit less, but ultimately I was always at the very least keeping an eye on it and seeing what was happening. But then we'll skip ahead years later. I've still been watching this thing through in adulthood, too much to the chagrin of many people who are like, "Why do you still watch that?" And I'm like, "Because it's the best thing. Fuck off." And then one day it wasn't long after I'd finished uni. I was just kind of I was at a point where I didn't have a job. I'd just finished uni, so I was just kind of floating about, and just by absolute luck, I happened to saw a Facebook advert for a training school that was around the corner from us. And I was like, what do I have to lose? I've might as well just sign up for it and see what it's like. And then, like I said before, the second I took that first bump, second around those ropes, I was just hooked. And I knew I was hooked because I was having a shower that night after my first training session in the most physical pain I think I've ever been in my life. I was just sore head to toe. Like my body had never dealt with that kind of punishment. And I was like limping through my house like an old man. And my dad was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Are you going to go back next week?" I was like, "Yeah." And then just cracked on. And then, like I said, from there, it's just been up and up and up. Like each year, I've been lucky enough to be getting like a little bit busier, a little bit busier, a little bit busier and stuff. So, yeah, there's no reason to put the brakes on now. Might as well just run until the wheels come off.
Yeah.
That's great. Was it obviously? You said, I know there's. I've picked it up before. I mentioned the Newcastle scene beforehand. I know there's like a few quality schools up there, kind of thing. So I'm going to guess it was two different schools, or did you guys kind of meet each other early days?
We actually met at the same school. So, excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold coming on. So we actually met at the same school. We met at a school in Walker called Full Tilt Wrestling. That's where we first started training. And Tommy was training a little while before me. I think maybe you'd done like a training show or something before I got there. So maybe you'd been there like a few months or something. Or something.
Like I'd been a 2 or 3 months, I think it was, before you signed up. I think that was how long it was.
Yeah, so I remember getting there and being like, "Oh, this kid's like really good," like Tommy. I remember being like, "Oh, he's really good," and like everybody else is whatever they're doing, but like he's really good, so I should latch on to him. So then I just latched on to him naturally, and then we just worked together, and we became really good friends. We started hanging out a lot more, and we started just training together as you do, training once a week. But then, as time moved on, the opportunity came up to go to a separate school that opened up, so we ended up going to a school called Battle Ready, which was in South Shields. So we trained with Jay, who was Primate in WWE. And he was excellent. Like, he was really good at all the technical stuff and very aggressive. And he was working with WWE, so obviously he's a high standard. And trained himself by Rampage. So we went and trained there, and we became boys at that point. And then before we moved there, it's kind of convoluted, but Mickey Limerick had started training the Full Tilt for a little bit. And I remember him coming in and me being like, wow, this is like actual wrestling. This is like someone who 100% knows what they're doing. And this is something I'm totally out of my depth with. But then he moved over around the same time as we moved over to Battle Ready. He moved over to work with Jay. And so we just worked with Primate and Mickey. And they turned us into absolute monsters. We were training probably 3 times a week. I was unbelievably fit at one point. I was like running like an hour a day just easily. Not quite at that level right now. But I just remember like they just drilled us, and it was sick. Like, it really worked well. So definitely no complaints from me, as much as it was the hardest thing ever.
So it was really intense training, especially over obviously COVID hit and the world got locked down, and we may or may not have broke some rules to go and train some more. Like, it was the intensity ramped up even more when that happened, because there was, I want to say, like 4 or 5 of us who would just go 3 times a week and just absolutely batter each other. And obviously, wrestling schools, as a business, you want as many people in as possible. You want your 10, 15, 20, 30, however many people you want in. But I credit that time where it was like just the 4 or 5 was like probably outside of like when I started getting the summer camps is my biggest learning experience in wrestling, because it was just 5 guys who were the most like sort of dedicated ones, because we're the only ones who are literally breaking the law to go and do this. And we were like just absolutely gung-ho. Like you had no time for rest because there was so few of us, and we were just like in the fire and just learning constantly, and you just had to keep going and going and going and going and going until you just couldn't go anymore. And like Kris said, like the cardio was through the roof. I was doing like CrossFit competitions and stuff because I was just like, yeah, why not? Lift heavy crap and stuff. But like, no, I couldn't credit like that time enough as being like one of the biggest stages of development for me as a professional wrestler.
Yeah, and it was just drills. It was all drills. And sorry to interrupt. I know I'm being a dick. Sorry. It was just drills. Like we're not the kind of people who train like crazy, like flips or moves or like interesting sequences. We do a bit of that, but honestly, a lot of it is just like run the ropes and do X, Y, Z, and then just keep running. Run, take a tackle, up, take a tackle, up, take a tackle, up, take a tackle. Do some sort of running thing. That's why if you watch our matches, we just fucking run all the time. That's kind of what we do. Like we take like things off the top rope. Like we used to do a lot of drills where it was like you would do something and you climb to the top rope, you get thrown off the top rope, and people think that's scary, but then it's like then you get picked up and you have to do something and then do it off the other corner, then do it off the other corner, do it off the other corner. So you're doing like 4 flips off the top rope. And they didn't believe in crash mats, so we just like, we'll take these bumps. It was pretty brutal, like, but it was good. It was a good learning curve. I can tell you this much: I've never been in a situation in the ring where I've been scared of anything or like felt overwhelmed by how hard something's been, because I think the train itself was like, it was pretty crazy at times, but it was so worth it.
Does that repetition kind of put you in good stead for what was to come? Like we've talked about, the camp sort of scene where you're doing like more than one show a day, or it's just cut that grind for month after month after month. Seems like you've been doing that since, training, like I said, just running the drills over and over and over again.
Yeah, man, it's fundamentals. And like when I work bad guy a lot, I'm usually not well received by the crowd, and I don't do a lot of moves. But one thing I do is I bump like a motherfucker. So I just bump all the time, and I'll run and I'll bump, and I credit myself on like that's something I'm really good at, and I wouldn't have been able to do that without the drilling. Like I've seen people try it who aren't used to it, and it really blows them up. It's something you really have to condition yourself to, because it's not something you just go into blindly. So yeah, all credit to Mickey and to Primate for helping me with that, because otherwise I would have been probably still a fat old mess.
I had the pleasure of seeing Primate years ago down in Leeds. He wrestled at Tidal on a regular basis back in the day at Leeds Uni. Dude was awesome. He looked the part. Like I said, he was just somebody, if I saw, I would cross the street. Oh, dude legitimately scared me.
Yeah, you've never seen anyone do CrossFit like that. He's a freak.
Never gets tired. It's his intensity that I think is the main thing, because like he does CrossFit the same way that he wrestles. He's just like foaming at the mouth. Like you're just like, Jesus Christ, this bloody psychopath here. but in the best way possible. He's psychotic about things, and I think that's kind of the way you need to be about things sometimes in wrestling. You just have to be a bit of a nut job.
You can't half-arse it. You can't half-arse it. You've got all in.
But your whole entire arse. If there's one thing that you can take away from today, give it your whole entire arse.
The whole arse in. That's it.
Full
applies
arse.
to all areas of life.
Not just one cheek. You mentioned CrossFit there. I remember a while ago, one of the first guests I had on, and I think again from early days, I spoke to like Roxy, HT Drake, and a guy called and Joseph Biggs, who was also huge on the CrossFit thing. I think it was kind of like 50% wrestling, 50% CrossFit for old Joe. I know he's big on it. And then you mentioned CrossFit there. So I noticed you guys had cross paths, in matches previously. So I just wondered if you ever battled it out at CrossFit as well.
Yeah, well, Biggs used to Well, I say used to. He still does. It's me, the one who doesn't do the CrossFit anymore. But Battle Ready was just as much about like doing the CrossFit and that side of it than it was wrestling. Like it wasn't just purely a wrestling school. It was like wrestling and fitness, you know. And then so the other side of it was the CrossFit. So Biggs just got like right into that. Like he was one of Jay's guys for well, probably still now. I don't quite. Let's say I haven't been there in a while, but yeah, like so I've worked out with him a lot doing like the CrossFit stuff and like seeing him at comps and stuff like that. I don't think I ever did the same level as him because he, you know, credit where it's due. The kid had a motor on him. You know, I said kid, he's old doesn't mean anything, but you know. But like yeah, like again seeing him, it was very different to watching Jay though because Jay was like a rabid dog working out, whereas Biggs was probably like a lot more like subdued and quiet, and he would just crack on for a while, you know. And then I'm a stupidly competitive person, so I would always try to like both of them, even though I knew I was never going to catch up with either of them because they were just far fitter than I was. I was always just like, like so you got me like just dying as in a like on the ground at the end of a workout, whereas them two are like got a bit of a mild sweat. It looks like you've just sprayed them with a mist bottle or something. And I'm like, you know, it's one of the reasons why me and Kris got along so well as well, because obviously not as much in like CrossFit stuff, but straight away in wrestling, I think we're kind of start challenging each other like quite a lot in terms of, oh well, I'm getting better at this, so what are you going to do, kind of thing, you know. And I think that's why we've developed so much, because we're both competitive psychopaths. Like I hate losing, I can't stand it. I absolutely despise it. I remember the first time, like one of the first times I was working out with Kris, just like a regular gym session, and all it took for us was just I saw a little like a vein on a bicep and a little like peak a bit higher than mine, and I was just like, well, this is what we're doing. And I'm just like, because the instant I saw something that sort of motivated us or kicked off me competitive drive, I was just like, well, I have to do better than it now, you know. And I feel like, you know, likewise in other aspects of like wrestling or working out and stuff, I'm sure there's been a few times where Kris has been like, motherfucker, and started like, you know, kicking it into gear.
It still goes on. I think it still happens. Is like, if I look back at a lot of the reasons, and I'm saying this in the nicest possible way, by the way, if I look at a lot of the reasons for why I've improved, it's because like we've had that competitive thing. Is, you know, when we were in a training school together, Tommy's much more athletic than me. He can jump. I can barely fucking leave the ground. Like, you know, all those sort of things. He was always like a lot more athletically gifted than I was, and that's why when we got the shows, I was like, I need to hone the things that I'm good at and like surpass him somehow. And I think in those early stages, I probably did, and then you brought back, and then you had more experience in other things, and then you were doing this, and then I do something else. And like when you had the time away initially with kick out, it came back to me, and I was like, well, you've had this good experience away, so I need to do something totally different. So that's why I started going to all these schools around the country and trying to learn different styles. But like it's a good like competitive nature because we're always trying to make each other better. And there's honestly no jealousy in that sense. Like I don't feel any jealousy. I just feel like when I see you after a while, if you've done something or like if we have a show and you do something really well, I just go home and I just think, oh God, now I need to do something even better. So I need to do something more. Or like if I turn up and you've got more of a tan than me, I'm like, well, I need to go and be on a sunbed for 20 minutes. Like anything like that. But it's a healthy rivalry. It's really good. It's never been like a tense thing or anything like that. I think it's just iron sharpens iron again. I think we really push each other and it's a really positive thing. And like when Tommy does well, I do well, and vice versa. I'd like to think those things happen because, you know, we teach each other, we learn from each other, we drive and motivate each other, and sometimes we hate each other deep down. So it's really, really good.
I think that's why we work well both as opponents in the ring and like as a team as well. Because in a weird way, if you looked at it, we're sort of on paper, I don't think many people would instantly be like, we should put them together as a tag team kind of thing. Because I think like in terms of like with general styles and with strengths and stuff, we're actually quite opposed to one another. Like Kris was saying before, generally speaking, he works more the villain side of the job, whereas I'm 9 times out of 10, I'm the good guy on the show, I'm the babyface, you know. But that's because like that's where sort of in terms of my in-ring like charisma and movements and stuff like that, that's just where I naturally sort of lean towards anyways. And you would think it would be like a little bit of a chalk and cheese or like water and oil kind of situation, but whenever we come together as a tag team, I like to like the way I've always said it is because we've done good guy and bad guy tag teams and stuff, so I'm always like, we cover each other's bases when it comes to that. Like if we're working as a good guy tag team, I'm sort of more in charge of it, and vice versa. When it comes to the villain stuff, Kris is, a far more hateable person than I am. So he takes the lead and kind of boosts me up in those moments and that as well. And that I think that's why, like I said, although on paper you might think that we're too dissimilar to work together, I think we actually cover each other's bases really well, because every single time we've done something, it's always been almost off the back of the other one doing something else. We don't just try to copy each other. Like Kris said, like if he saw me doing something like really cool and athletic, he goes, right, well, I need to double down on the things that I'm good at and do it that way. So we've like drifted, but like crossed paths in that as well. It's a symbiotic relationship, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense to me though. For a tag team, you need both sides. You need that. Again, I'm speaking from this side of, it's an uneducated opinion. I'm speaking like, as I see it, as a fan kind of thing. But all the best tag teams, they've always kind of got that guy that can sell, that takes a whooping for like 10 minutes, is actually makes the beatings look like they hurt, makes us care. And then you got the athletic babyface who gets the hot tag, and then they come in and kind of right all the wrongs. So from what you guys have just been saying for the last 5 minutes, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Like that's where we work when we work good guy. Like I'm the one that's getting beat up a lot of the time. I tend to take a lot of the punishments, and that's just the cross I have to bear for being so good at making people sad for me. But then
It didn't start out that way though. Because when we first started tagging, it didn't start out that way. Because when we first started tagging, I hadn't sort of put on as much size. So by like necessity, even though I'm taller, I was like a lot leaner and skinnier. So I was like, I have to be the guy that gets beaten up, like because I'm not as much of like a physical threat by like appearance alone. But then sort of obviously, back to us lovingly hating one another. Kris was getting bigger, so I was like, well, I need to really kick it in gear on that, and I've had the chance to work with some like great PTs, like Reese I'm currently working with. He's knows his stuff, and I credit him a lot for how like the development I've had. Sorry, my dog has decided that he wants to be a part of this.
The more the merrier.
Decided that he loves this, but yeah, and then sort of that switch happened where because I just got a lot of experience doing sort of a lot more like fiery babyface stuff, and then just the rules change and that,
Yeah, and then when we work villain, we kind of switch who's doing what in terms of like the punishment and whatnot. But like, I tend to be more vocal. I'm really like that's where I tend to excel, is like to a live crowd, speaking and talking and like making people hate me. And I'm happy enough to go out the ring and talk to somebody directly to their face and like speaking to people. And when they're with their girlfriends, they've got their arm around their girlfriends and like going up to them and being like, "Oh, you're on your own," to like the girl. And the bloke will always hate it, and I just. It's just like it's funny how in it people get. Funny how much people want to punch me by the end of it, but that's the job.
Just doing what you're doing.
He has 2 eyes over the years.
Yeah, maybe made a couple of kids cry, but
that's the job, mate. I hate to tell you this. This is exactly, if you're working heel, you're not a great heel team unless you've made some children cry. I remember speaking to Reese and Rogan when there was at Odyssey, and they took great pride in making a small girl cry at Odyssey. And I was like, yes, that's it. They earned their paycheck that day. They walked out happy. It's like, yeah, we made somebody cry. We are heels.
Yeah. That's it. And like, you want to make, I think some people get really scared about people really hating them. I had a show ages ago in Sunderland where like this guy was really close to jumping the barrier. You were on that show. I wrestled Drake on that show, actually.
I was on the show, yeah.
And he was like really angry, and he was an older bloke, and he was like going to jump the barrier, and I was like, "Come on, then," because in my head I was like, "If you jump the barrier, I'm obviously just going to run away. Like I'm not going to fight you." So like, but it's just I think some people are scared of taking that, and in the moment, like it's so different. It's so different when you're there because the adrenaline's there, and you just lose all sense of danger. Some days somebody might batter the shit out of me, but I'll just have to eat that if it happens.
dude. Like I said, just run. Once, just run to the curtain. You've got like 20 guys as backup. Once you get through that curtain, you can just stand there and be like.
They might throw me back out, like, so. I'm not entirely sure about that.
I'd have you back. I'd only let them get in like a good 2, 3, 4, 5 digs in before I'd step in.
Yeah.
You know,
That's excellent.
But no, like that's the thing though. Like getting those sort of visceral reactions is what we're there for. You know, like whether it's the good guy or like as a bad guy or a good guy. You know, because obviously being a villain and a heel tends to get more of those like physical altercations. Like I've seen it. Credit to Bullet. He's one of the best in the country again right now, and I've seen him get doomed in the face by a belt. Like somebody took the championship belt and just absolutely doomed him in the mush from it. It was a good shot, to be fair.
Absolute
but you
gold,
know, it's like it's that. But like it's like that kind of visceral reaction is what you want on the villain side. And again, just most of my experience coming from being a babyface, it's mainly like you don't really get it in the show as such. Like you'll get like little moments, but most of where I see it is like when you do the signings afterwards, and just seeing how elated the kids are just to be near you and have like a 2-second conversation with you. You know, it's why I think your meet and greets and stuff are really an important part of the job. You know, it's such an important part of the job because it's kind of, to me, just as much as the wrestling, it's what brings the people back. You know, just giving them that little bit of time where you're able to sort of give that appreciation back to them in whatever way it is. Like I said, I'm more the babyface, so I'll just be nice and normal to them. You know, whereas on the villain side, you know, some guys prefer to try to sort of keep it up and stuff like that, keep it the gimmick and that, but. It's what brings them back because it makes them feel like they're a part of it. It's why, like I said, it's one of, if not one of the most like important parts of any shows. You know, you got to take it seriously, in my opinion, and give the people sort of their money's worth and make them want to come back and see you again.
As a fan, I've taken my son to numerous shows. We saw Kick Out a few years ago at Butlins, taking them to shows around near me as well, and it's those interactions afterwards. Like he enjoys the matches, but yeah, it's the interactions, it's the photos afterwards that he remembers. Or if I'm like, oh, you know, this promotion's back in town, do you want to go see it? And he'll look at me and I'm like, you remember having your photo taken with this guy? And he's like, yes, yeah, cool, let's go. I'm like, that's sweet, let's go. But yeah, that's, you know, as memorable as the matches are and the moments are, it's the connections that they remember more.
It absolutely is, and there's nothing better than like speaking to the kids afterwards and just them telling you how much they enjoyed it. And like, I get carried away with it. I probably piss some people off because I just really enjoy talking to them afterwards, and everyone's
There's
like,
no probably you do.
Leave. I want to leave. I want to go home or whatever. And I'm like, no, but like these people are here and they've paid money, and you know that it's really cool speaking to them. It's always nice to hear from the kids. So, and the parents, similarly, you get parents at the end who are like, whoa, you got really battered there, and I'm like bleeding from my head or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, it sucks, but like it's just like that's where the feedback is. It's amazing. It's always really nice to hear from them, even when I've been a bad guy, and afterwards they're like, you know, oh, I hated you today, and I'm like, well, great, you know, because that's what it's there for. But yeah, there's just something about it. That's where the magic is. I never got to experience that as a kid. I never went to a wrestling show as a kid. The first wrestling show I went to was that show, the MEW show at the Innisfree. The first time I ever saw a wrestling ring or heard a wrestling ring was like when I was already basically an adult. So I didn't know what that was like as a kid. I just think it's a really important thing to like give them that extra enhanced thing. If you can give it to them and give them the time, because they'll remember that forever. And hopefully one day I'll be dead famous. And they can be like, oh, I met that guy. Or you know, they'll just have a random picture of some guy that doesn't exist anymore on their fridge. That's fine.
I can speak on it. You know, like you didn't go to many shows as a kid, whereas for me, growing up, I was a Butlins kid. You know, like my family took us to Butlins and like Havens and stuff all the time, so I did get exposed to these things. You know, like I know earlier I said obviously I didn't really get into wrestling until I was like 8 or 9, but even when I was like younger, like 4s, 5s, and 6s. If I was on like a holiday camp, I was going to go and see the wrestling because it was always just something fun. You know, you're never going to have a bad time. So I have like sort of grown up having more of those interactions because I would have been the kid that went to the meet and greets and saw the wrestlers afterwards. So knowing how important that experience was for me when I was growing up in my like formative years, it's why I think I take it with so much like like seriousness nowadays. Like I don't just see it as just like another thing that you can like maybe try and get a few like more ticket sales and stuff out of. Like it's a serious part of like the job, it's the word connections that you used before is the perfect way to put it, because that's, to me, that's what wrestling is. That's why I think, I don't know if I will call it my favorite, but what I think is the best match of all time, like just in an objective, like if I were to try and explain wrestling in one match, it would probably be this one. It'll be Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, because that's, nobody cares what moves happened in that match. Nobody cares about the what. All you need is that stare down, and that's the entire thing. That's all of what we do. Is just two dudes, two big, massive jack dudes looking at each other, and just an arena full of people coming unstuck at just people looking at each other. That's wrestling, in my opinion. Is just that like moment and connection and moment. Yeah. I've said moment twice there. Oh. Just that, that's what it is to me. It's the feeling more than anything.
And also,
else.
Anybody who doesn't like that match is an idiot. I don't care who you are. If you think that match is bad, because I've had people tell me, "Oh, there's no work rate in that match." If you think that, you are an idiot, and that's all there is to it. You're probably a really nice person, but you're an idiot. It is the best match ever. It's unreal. I sometimes watch it when I'm doing like cross trainer, just sitting on the cross trainer, watch that entire match. I just get goosebumps every time. Unbelievable. Yeah, that is wrestling. You're actually 100% right. We absolutely agree.
There we go. Awesome. I just want to rewind. You said that you kind of went on a tour of schools, to just sharpen the edges, fine tune this, that, and the other. Just out of curiosity, where did the tour take you?
Yeah, so I just try to visit schools like wherever I am. So like the main ones I've really done is I go to Hustle quite a bit. So in London, that's it, Scholar School. Unreal. Everyone there is amazing. He's an incredible trainer, puts on unbelievable shows. Obviously has that WWE experience as well, and just really gives a different perspective on things, but also somebody who really knows the job. So like he's invaluable. He's very, very good. Shaw Samuel's school, the London School of Wrestling, unbelievable. He's a guy who just drills, like much like Mickey. He's a real proper old school wrestler. Incredible. His guys are like so fit. Like I thought I was fit, and I got there and I was like, whoa, okay, I'm dead. But yeah, like another like really amazing school in London. Recently I went to the Pursuit Pro Wrestling in Sheffield, which is Liam Slater's school, and that was a really great time. Like everyone there is really good. They're really nice people. It's really well run. The training is really spot on. And he knows sort of the audience of his class. Like he really gives them a bit of everything, which I found really interesting. And obviously that's someone who's had time in the job as well. I think the main thing is if you can find a school where the person has had time in the job, whether that is WWE or whether they've worked the camp for years or whether they've just worked on like pretty reputable shows for a long period of time, being around the right people, you're probably going to learn something. And those are the people you really want to stick around. So I'm very selective with who I would train with. Like I'd love to go to, for example, I go to in Liverpool, and we know Dean pretty well. We've worked shows with him quite extensively in the past. Unbelievable wrestler. I've wrestled him in a singles match once, and I beat him, and we'll allow guys win back. So that's a place I would definitely go and see what his sort of training's like, because he's one of the best that's ever done it in England. Joseph Connors has a great school by all accounts, which I've never been to, but he is somebody that we've been around and is an amazing wrestler and again has such good instincts for this and has been around it for so long. So yeah, those are the kind of schools in Britain that I would really recommend. I've definitely missed some off the top of my head, but I think those are the ones that I've, the ones visited and the ones that I think have really good prestige and you could really learn something from.
That's it. I mean, British wrestling is in a state at the minute where there are, like I said, that's just a few, and I'm sure you'll come off this and you'll be like, this new wave, Future Shock, loads more.
All-Star South was the other one. All-Star South was the one I definitely missed. Joe Redmond's school. We've never been able to visit it. It's right down south, but we know the people that come out of there. Nathan the Angel and whatnot. Like Nathan's in WWE now. He's a freak. Joe's an animal. Like everyone that come out there is so well drilled, so well disciplined. And it's got the All-Star name for a reason, because it's that, it's that sign of ability, sign of like credibility. And obviously, yeah, the people that come out there are amazing. Joe's the man. That would also be in my picks, which I forgot before.
There you go. But that's just British wrestling at the minute. I mean, I sort of there's just, I don't think you're more than, I don't know, 30 minutes away from a good school, probably no more than 45 minutes away from a great school, no matter where you're based nowadays.
Yeah,
And that's just
so many.
crazy.
Yeah, there's loads up in the northeast, and they all have their merits in their different ways, and people have done really well at all these different schools, which is great. But they're all over the country as well. There is schools all over the country, like you say, and there's people that come out of nowhere. These schools that seem to produce people out of nowhere that do really great, and that's always great to hear. There's so many good wrestlers around there. I think sometimes people get lost in the internet bubble. So like the people they see on Instagram, the people they see on YouTube, and they think that those are the only guys who are really great. But there's so much good wrestling bubbling under the surface. I didn't know about until I got into wrestling. But like Joel, for example, is probably not someone you're going to see much of on Instagram or on YouTube. But when you see him in person, you're like, Jesus Christ, and Mickey's the same, Mickey Limerick. Those guys are freaks, and like there's so much bubbling under the surface. Once you get into it, you find really incredible wrestling.
So that's the thing. I mean, promotions like All Star, Slam Hero guys, they don't need, obviously the internet's great, Instagram's great, Facebook are great for like promotions to sell tickets, to get the word out there. But there's promotions out there and people out there that don't need that word of mouth. They're automatically a draw. They're going to sell shows just by turning up, which is what I think those guys do. Which is why people don't really know about them, which is why people won't see him on Instagram or, YouTube or places like that.
Yeah, I would agree entirely. Like, especially like, I know we'll keep bringing up their names, but again, for our money, they're probably the two best wrestlers in the country. Like Joel and Mickey just have this, like magnetism about them. Like you just see it the second they go out, like the second they walk through the curtain. The people are right there, just right in the palm of the hand straight away. And again, just going back to what I was saying earlier, like it's all just about moments, and they just so organically just create these little points in their matches every single time without fail. And that's the draws, because people just remember, like they might not be able to say like, oh, X, Y, and Z happened in the match. There was a superplex and a frog splash and a blah blah blah. Like, but they'll remember how those matches made them feel. That's why, like you said, with All Star and stuff, don't rely as much on an internet presence. The selling point is people know All Star, and they know when they go to that show, they're going to come away elated. Like they're going to come out knowing that they've just seen one of the best wrestling shows in the country. And that's the selling point. It's not trying to bank on like a number next to a follower list on social media. It's just we know the quality of show that is going to be put on by this company, and every time we see that company, we're excited to see them, and that's what keeps bringing the people back, and that's why companies like All Star have been able to last for over 55 years, I think it is. Like it's the longest run promotion in the UK for a reason, and it's because they know how to put on top quality shows.
They don't even need to announce matches. They don't need to sort of say, well, this is the show, these are the 8 matches. You can just see the poster, they're in town, we're buying a ticket.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. And I don't see a world in which it's not going to be that way, because it's all it's ever been. It's all it needs to be. Like as Tommy said, it's the stamp of approval right there, just having the All Star name. And there's so many guys on those shows that like maybe people would never have heard of until they go there. But like Joel and Mickey would be great examples. Niwa's an absolute animal. People don't even know who he is. Like I speak to other wrestlers who have no idea who he is. He's like literally the best wrestler I've ever seen in my life. I'm pretty intense in the ring. I wrestled the tag match with Niwa, and I remember being in there and just being like, I'm getting eaten alive here, because he's a freak, like from another planet. I've never seen anything like it. But there's so many guys on those shows that are underappreciated in the grand scheme of things. Dean Allmark is an example of somebody who for years was on those shows, was doing amazing stuff, and nobody knew who he was. And then finally he started doing the Instagram thing, the internet thing, and it really blew up for him because he'd done his time, he'd done the work. And once he started doing these shows with everybody else, everybody was like, what the fuck is this? And the answer is it's someone who's put in the graft.
We love
just to speak on
normal.
Dean a little bit more. I remember when Progress did that show up in the Northeast in Newcastle, we were like dead lucky enough to be invited along to go and see it. And I remember watching this car, and it was like there's tons of talent on that show. But the main thing I remember, Dean went on with big name now, that Takeshita, the current IWGP heavyweight. No, sorry, he just lost it. Sorry, my wrestling knowledge is showing there. But yeah, a IWGP heavyweight champion, Dean Allmark, went on with him, and it blew everything out of the water. And that doesn't say anything about the quality of the remaining show. It says everything about how good that fucking match was. I remember just watching it and being like, "Fucking hell, Dean's just so good."
He knows all the tricks.
Almost sickening.
You will hear people say it's what you do between the moves. It's not what you do with the moves. It took me a few years into wrestling to understand what that meant. But when you watch Dean, you're like, Jesus Christ, because everything about him makes you want him to win. Like when he's in that position, and even I did. I remember I was like a child. I was like, come on, like, and like, yeah, that's an example of somebody who's really put the graft in, really learned the ropes, and just when the times come, they've taken that opportunity and they've really shone. He did really well in Progress. He's done really well in all these really well known in their promotions, and all credit to him. He's the man. He's absolutely the man.
Yeah, we love Dean. I was lucky enough to have seen Dean over the years. I used to go to PCW back in the day. Used to see him there all the time. I think somebody summed him up best, being like, he looks like everybody's favorite uncle until he gets in the ring, and then he's just a bad mother. It's like, yeah.
Yes, he is. Everybody's favorite good-looking uncle, by the way. What a good-looking man.
Anyway. Sorry, guys, I've just got the time. I said I'd keep you for about an hour, but I've not even really touched on the whole TrailBlazers sort of thing, going forward. Just start talking to you. I was like, crap, we've got so much to talk about. But yeah, obviously, it's a TrailBlazers episode. You guys are a team. I sort of said we touched on it, not everywhere, but obviously I've seen footage, watched the match from. It wasn't from SWW, it's from somewhere else. But I'm trying to find the match you guys had. I want to say against the Blockbusters at SWW.
Yeah, we did. It wasn't filmed, unfortunately, and I
can't find it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I know it's impossible to find, but there's going to be more matches. The Blockbusters are the absolute dudes. They're the best. We loved working with them. They're so much fun to work with, and they will give you a match. It's like they're intense in there. They're hitting you. They're really hitting you, and that's sick. But yeah, there's going to be more matches with them. There's going to be more matches with everybody. Hopefully, we really want to be doing a lot more work around the country, and that's kind of the big push of this year, is that we want to be getting into as many promotions as possible, working as a tag team. We were lucky enough to be all-star tag team champions for over a year, and that was pretty early into what we were doing. And we worked with some really incredible teams around that time. We worked with the Knights and the Henchmen and people like that on runs. So that was really great. And we've got a lot of experience in that sense. But even we were still so new to the job really at that point as well. So it is we've come on a long way since then, we'd like to think anyway. And now we just want to take that experience and work as many places as we can and show what we're capable of, because I think we're pretty good. I like to think so anyway.
I think, for my money, I think I'm very sort of stern in my confidence in us as a tag team, which is, I think you could put us up against any other tag team in the country and we're stack up. We just do. So for those who might not necessarily be aware of us, because again, we ourselves aren't the best at being sort of online all the time. We're kind of Britain's best kept secret in terms of tag team wrestling. But I'm more than happy to sort of put the bold claim out there and say we're up there with the best tag teams in the UK. If anybody wants to try and prove us wrong, they are more than welcome. Because, like Kris was saying, we will go anywhere, wrestle anywhere, and all we want to do is go up against the best guys, put on the best damn show we possibly can. We were dead excited when we got the call to go up against the Blockbusters, because they were guys that we were aware of for a while. They were aware of us because they were keeping up with All Star, and we were just gagging to get that match under our belts. And it's only happened once so far, but in the future, there's no reason to say that we can't go up against the Blockbusters again and go up against other massive tag teams in the UK. We want it to be known that we want everybody else to know what we believe in ourselves, which is we rate up there with every other tag team in the UK, and we just want the opportunity to show that we can.
Or internationally as well. You know, we don't care where you're from. We don't care if you don't speak English. We'll kick the shit out of you. We'll just not because you don't speak English. This could be sound clipped really badly.
But I speak English. I'll kick the shit out of you. But I mean, you guys are based in like so. You know, I mentioned Newcastle a few times now, but you guys are based perfectly for me because you can kind of go. You could go up to Scotland if you wanted to. You've got a few quality promotions, you know, in Newcastle themselves. You know, there's MEW, there's Win, there's North, you know, but there's always guys from that area traveling down to, like, say, because I'm in Leeds. I'm a Nottingham boy. Nearly said I'm a Leeds boy. I'm not. Don't want to besmirch myself or term myself Yorkshire, but I'm based in Leeds, or the rest of I go to season Leeds kind of thing. So, you know, you can hopefully, you know, again, as a fan, all I can do, I'm a fucker for fantasy booking. Now you've said that, I'm like, ooh, you know, I kind of want to see you guys against Henry Fast and Joe Wade. I want to see you against Reese and Rogan. You know, I want to see you against Misery Business, Alan Kane, Joe Wade again. Yeah. Joe Wade twice. But yeah, you know, so you guys against Temple and Malum, you know, you against Rob Drake and Isaac North, that would just be like, dude, crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, stick us in against anyone. Like, we just want to work new people. We want to get out there. We want to show everyone what we can do, and like just have the best matches with people, because that's all we really care about doing, and like just making it the best experience for everybody. And honestly, just like to kick the shit out of some people. So they can kick us maybe as well, you know, but we're probably going to kick the shit out of them. We are pretty big. So,
I'm going to feel bad saying this now because it kind of sounds like I'm just saying it because I want to see them getting shit kicked out of them. But I was just thinking like 21 Union as well. I'd love to see you guys against Joe Cedric and Seb Mercer, just because I think visually as well, it'd be like, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we trained with those guys as well, actually.
Yeah, they trained with them. They're tense guys, and getting a chance to do that on an actual show would be massively fun.
And we will kick the shit out.
You know, for anybody who wants to see it.
I'm a twat for putting stuff out there. I'll try to put it into the universe, try and get it to manifest. I'm quite right. It's out there now. If somebody hears this or can try to make it happen, you know, God bless them. But yeah, guys, I've kept you for an hour, which I sort of said I will do. Guys, honestly, thank you. So, I mean, if there's anything, you know, you want to just mention while I've got you here, I don't want to cut you off short. If there's anything you want to just shout out or anything before you go.
Just socials for me, like my socials, Kris Dekker Wrestling on everything. So that's KRIS. Dekker spelled with 2 Ks, DEKKER. Almost forgot how to say vowels there. So definitely give me a follow if you want to see somebody in their underwear beating people up and getting beat up himself. That would be class. That's definitely my shout there. And obviously we've got shows coming up, but I'm going to let Tommy tell you about them because he remembers the dates better than I do.
It's a lie. I remember the 2 that are coming up this weekend, and that's about it. No, but yeah. So for me as well, the socials. It's mainly Instagram that I'm on, but I'm on Instagram and TikTok, both the same handle, Youngblood TF. Youngblood from a nickname that I don't use anymore, but I like the handle, so I'm keeping it. So Youngblood TF on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to follow us there, that's realistically the only places I post. But yeah, so just a reminder again, we've got All Star Wrestling in Hull this Friday. We've got All Star Wrestling in Liverpool on Saturday, which is going to be massive because it's St. George's Hall, which is a big venue right in the middle of the city centre. So we're throwing everything out there. You got the both of us on. You'll have Tiny Iron, Mickey Limerick, Joel Redmond, like Ashton Smith again. Yeah. Just a brief shout out to Ashton because I've had the opportunity to go in the ring with him so many times. He's again just a fucking outstanding wrestler, outstanding. Like one of the best in the country. Again, like this show in Liverpool is going to be absolutely stacked because we want to make a splash. We're right in the center of Liverpool. We'll have to show out, and we're going to throw every fucking thing we've got at you. So make sure you're there for that show. And then other than that, we've got a tour towards the end of February, which is All-Star again, just making towns up and down the country. We've got some in the middle, some right down south, like Aldershot. We've got some up in the north, like we've got like Washington, Hexham, I believe. So we're just making towns all over the place. So keep your eyes peeled. All-Star Wrestling will be there somewhere. And where there is an All-Star Wrestling, there will be Tommy Freeman and Kris Dekker.
Yeah. You guys venture around the Yorkshire area. I will try my utmost to get to a show. I've got to kind of go and see this in person.
Oh, mate, absolutely. We're in Yorkshire soon. I mean, We're in York on Friday, funny enough. But other than that, we do like Keithley. We do all these venues all the time. So like, just keep an eye on our socials. We'll post everything on there because we do so many dates. It's so hard to keep track of them. But that all starts as the 16th to 27th of February. So like, just keep an eye out. And yeah, man, absolutely come along to the show and maybe you can watch me win something.
Hey, I could be your good luck, Joe. I'll say it. You'll be like, yes, there we go. Guys, obviously, thank you so much. As they said, hit the follow button on Insta, on TikTok, see what they're doing. If they are on a show near you, go to that show, support, the local scene, buy some merch, cheer when you're meant to cheer, boo when you're meant to boo. Hang around afterwards, have a quick chat. Like so I said, make those connections, make those moments, make it memorable to ensure that you want to keep going. But I will say thank you for watching this episode. Hit like, subscribe, share, comment, the generic stuff we ask you to do. Keep your eyes peeled. We've got loads of stuff coming up. We've got Shreddy coming up in a couple of weeks. I've got him on. He can show me who the daddy is, and I'll be very scared. I'll just sit here like, yeah. But yeah, that's it. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I honestly can't say it enough. It's been a genuine pleasure. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a fun first time podcast experience for me. So there's that.
Hey, that's always good. Obviously, everybody else, again, thank you for watching, and remember, always work the left side. Goodbye.